Ali, lagi tayo dun ma-recline, Vice Speaker, House of Delegates, sila sa Edlo Umul. Ako tiya, gilitan lang matukoy as senator sa dili ko sesyon, ang miscellaneous part calendar tir. Di kita ulabat tiyal meeting mo ay mag-clock itasil sil kora ulureng luwasebol CBL el momere ka session e bele joiner git, so we'll go ahead and start ya at sumong mo sa rin na joiner git ang malunod. At the same time members sa media ng atyang kada fully recorded ni directly live al morar at belaw directly nga niya ka elira rekla adan el Michael information el al time maluwa uri ulit is ilo message el video el al sis ma wera do mu ulgung ado mu le kunitra erbelaw mal la open at meeting el gide lo der scene bang lungu
adolo adamra baklios oban matyang alider sablu belaw ama osam le gorgau legium ayubil matagil wasi kam redra ramam mablu ablu adrokis ayoli trgau alam sereng rgau man mergamam yang arwe silni abud ektareng gam liu sri mergamam bols mamut mak abai mai imol das igi mames gerela awi klugo ablu bela bagi otar saikal on mam mamulungulam ngani laki geni atur ko ngatamatang Yesus Kristus. Amen.
Saule erblauen albaise ebo tomu urtial meeting git mal gureng asule may bedul ka mar claim tigal rubul belaw ngartiar el al litasils no submil me join ra Vice President, tamar members sa cabinet, tamar other executive branch ng atyang, ma Vice Speaker Regidra Niraiwet, ma legal delegates, colleagues at Tira House and Law sa Barilmay, Chairman ng Governors Association, Temis Mul, ma colleagues at Nira Governors and Law sa Barilmay, ma Direct Chairman Speakers Association, Aloysius Pelay, el direct law, sabihin niya markalik silin. Umeseng direct nga niya, adala, olbira, ikal state, direct king atyang, kada umara, maradra buhay, kada umara, luaseng musisiul information, nagirit nga niya cloud ng irgid, omsodel, ta understanding irgid mo. Akbare nga sulirar beklade siya kita taboy ngara Senate lo aset diri ngara miscellaneous. I hope mo sa in medyo der kit di bedul tial wal kora kais amrungol lokdong ulngit luasing el ang kora ungil tial el tial kombali ra Engie angar belaor el al time korak meda Christmas ending lo soril direct by or dia umrolir el main el buklang ari ate elir direct mitra adra PPUC mar adra PEA ma ulbira lulaw mar adra belaw rogil e gukil sabe el makatak la malugo be do sumok la bebira toil el nia cloud to trail el direct el tokora renewable energy loya ka solar project. Kada last tel doko meeting el leadership berbelaw latyang engwal koram lo blakatak umra lo aseng lo blakatak project la lo aseng kada mora abek el doul lo siklole leng mo sabe tial tokoy solar el motoy e direct lo siklole leng kada mutel el sumkli malube kada kadrulil mo ngil tial el agreement lo bangkel tial kombali al presentation arterial al itasil sa aswak assure gid lo asya PPUC ma Kabilmente ibdul marklaya mallo ngilagi rokul tokoy mal loar madril kiti dimla ka tora umukpeot ma tora amongoit mang di klar ngudlo aset tirga nga direct sorir el mo kut mutlik tial project el mo tokoy maun te direct sa mariar el mo atu kiti posikro lelo asin ngaras el agree on both sides. Di era ka kutial may galngul misterire di sel sadal mal mo teklia salit yang adiakal program ra executive branch ma adiakal program ra minister malubel program ra PPUC tiang aulya kala el tilo dra olvira kululaw kata saying rigi isegi dalla awal normally PPUC lasing giriul ngosutrir ar other belaw katora dengi muyasuil merar other belaw yasuil ral al pretelela o cordela dengi el al time mablulad maklugu kulmong autoira renewable energy ya umsu bamla mo mereka al sel belaw lo asya renewable asap edlo makarata dengi lo uspe a wind malubeng hydro malubeng ocean maluben sales, hindi sales segi di akot abundance, segi di akot applicable al mera abdul belaw mong direct kimla mo mereka study say mong segi dal mayre ra ala awal katekli lo asen abelaw mo enter into agreement elo bangela geldo dulo asen IPP independent power producers mong segi dal kumbali ra Engie IPP, yung independent power producers, marahil assessment dagil mekli, direct loya ka a leadership meeting, ikadang lolingit tra partner sirgid ang tol o drabul other rogir, ar other sabihin may partner rigid. Tigagid ang artiang budul raklay lo tirak segid ang mayreira, akabal mental belaw. Ma swadal directly mo o makatekli elo asya atora cost arala dengi sa edal ka mondarin mong eme o nga tri diesel la ka dobe sa sel overall intent trala awasing gire dal uspe a clean energy gire dal uspe a ngod al role le ka makala dengi mandia ka dito uspe a fossil fuel the fossil fuel contaminate malubeng tomelya environment ma iltela ablu mung segida bebira time ko mo o dia kata concentrate rin di aklamara ngi kita address segida el pristine paradise concept ablu belaw ma iltel belaw wasin kadamora clean energy kadamora renewable energy soada liasui ertia gidal tokora fossil fuel without further ado, solay Minister Obi ang bas kami awlaw lamang mga takir gila kung bralo asing area point in time may katukuk mo suwede ng area karita beklaatan mo ra kaya kampanya.
President Kamal Sulang yung malugili tasil sin mo ra ay bidul maraklay arabeklaatan ng artiang وجل الذي له وبريزيدنت تنكلو التقال المرجيز المستريرة ترجع الأذل المليل والتوي راجل كوكورام نجريد ما أمني الراودة نرجيد را أيقال نامو منيجر leadership meeting ما أيقال public forum دبلارني me أو بنجدر إلان لهم ترى كمبالي را Engie ngaringi Mr. Stefano. Can you please? Obenggel Carl Alberto ngang omtr sel dudulwa si Engie EPS material members ra timartir dila kalmay tirgel expert trigel battlefielder tial kompali ma megulite presidenta dilungile bay dung tialo guyong masterir malomo representation artir.
honorable leaders of Belau, ladies and gentlemen in the audience. We are happy and proud to be here, and we are very excited to be again in this beautiful nation that you have. We are here with a few colleagues, of course, as the minister had briefly introduced. Carlo Alberto, my boss, is the CEO of Engie EPS. Engie EPS being the subsidiary of the Engie Group dealing with microgrids. Hein Oman here is based in Bangkok, is our regional expert for solar power. Christophe Comte, based in Jakarta here, is a senior developer. He will be in charge of this project once construction will start. And Marco Todeschini, also from Engie EPS, Microgrid subsidiary, is in charge of the system engineering. And myself, I am the general manager of Engie EPS. We are here today to present to all of you this iconic project, a project which we have been developing together with PPUC to meet your extraordinary ambitions. The ambitions that you set for yourself to be a leader in the region, certainly, and even globally. A project that already put Palau on the global map. A project that caught our attention and brought us here. Engie, a global player, to be here and to work with you and hopefully enter into a 30-year partnership. In this partnership, we will bring the technical solution, we will bring all of our expertise, our people, and we will bring the financing for this project. A project that will deliver renewable, clean energy, meeting your ambitions, hopefully with a little bit of luck, even beating the ambitions of the 45% renewable target you have set yourselves. A project that will make your grid even more resilient than what it is now. A project that will deliver immediately savings for Palauans and will fix the cost of generation for 30 years. A project that will be constructed, financed, operated, maintained by a trusted partner, a global player, which will be a close ally of PPUC. We hope that we will be able to show that this is a good deal for the country. Once again, a deal that delivers lots of benefits, delivers the decarbonization that you desire, the renewable energy that you desire, delivers savings which are tangible and immediate as we go live in just 2 years' time, and that we will make available to this country at no cost to you. And with this, I pass on the microphone to my boss, and I will come back to you with more details.
Thank you, Stefano. Mr. President, Minister, honorable members, chiefs, we're very honored to be here today. And before any word to better describe our project and to try to clarify any doubt that you may have and all the concerns that have been raised in the last month, I would prefer to show a brief video that essentially represents who we are, what we have done in the last 3-4 years in terms of system, what a microgrid is, what solar power is, what a container with battery storage is. I think that showing the installations that we have made all around the world is the better way to start this presentation today. Essentially, the microgrid focus started in 2015 when we IPO'd in the Euronext Stock Exchange, then first systems installed in Flinders Island. Then that's our factory. First system installed in Europe. This is our factory. That's the interior of a container. This is one of the first microgrid realized in the world, in Chile. Then there's a container for a Mexican application. The technology is covered by 125 patents. So you can imagine the technological challenges behind. That's our factory, in which we manufacture on a yearly basis hundreds of megawatts. This is again, Chile. In 2017, we were already the worldwide leader in microgrids and energy storage. This is a plant we installed in Africa, solar plus storage. That's again our factory, in which we manufacture internally 100% of the system. And this is one of the largest energy storage systems ever realized in the world. That's the interior of a container containing batteries. This is a system realized for Australia, one of the largest microgrids in the world. This is a system in Somaliland, 3 windmills, megawatt of solar power, batteries, powering a city of 50,000 people. System realized for Australia again. In Australia, we are powering a mining city. This is the largest energy storage system realized in Europe, that we realized in partnership with the largest grid operator in Europe. There's a power plant, a coal power plant that we stabilized, again a container. And this is what we call distributed energy. So essentially several power sources, renewable storage that are powering cities, securing grid stability and resilience. These are the system in Africa. This system is powering 50,000 people, and in aggregate, we power every day 165,000 people with our microgrids. Every day. Okay. Let me try to address the concern that we have seen raised in Palau in the last weeks. And even more importantly, let me try to transfer to you some idea in terms of how we can compare 3 different things, which is solar plus storage, and then microgrid. Because those are 3 totally different concepts, with 3 totally different costs, and with 3 totally different applications. What we will build in Palau is a microgrid. And a microgrid implies state-of-the-art technology and the most challenging technological aspects that has ever been addressed all around the world. I will try to explain you why. First of all, when we compare solar systems and solar installation, we have to pay a tremendous attention on the geography first. When we compare the prices of the PPA, so the power purchase agreement that we sign, that implies a tariff, which is the price at which PPUC will purchase electricity instead of buying diesel. And we want to compare the prices of the PPA around the world just for solar system, so excluding storage or microgrid. We have to keep in mind that one thing is to install a system in the middle of the desert with flat terrain and no environmental climate risk, in places in which we have 11-12 hours of sun per day. Another thing is to install a solar system in the middle of hills and forests, in places like rainy islands and cloudy islands, when we have between 6 and 7 hours of sun. I think that is really important to understand that when you have in a place like Palau 6 hours and a half average sun per day, and you compare with Dubai, where you have 12 hours of average sun per day, it means that the same solar panel produces twice as much electricity. And therefore, the cost of the solar panel is 50% lower. Site conditions in Palau are particularly complex. This is one of our installations in Peru. You see immediately the terrain, the flat environment. And this is already the design that we already made for the Necken site, in which we install solar and storage. In that specific case, you see the particular shape of the solar plant, the distributed way, and even more importantly, you see the red and green lines that are the altitude difference. And that each single step of altitude distance difference in terms of elevation gain is an additional cost for solar. So I think that it is important to acknowledge the complexity of building a microgrid or even simply solar in a place like Palau. Therefore, when we want to really compare different PPA prices, so different tariffs all around the world, we have to keep in mind 7 factors that makes the difference in the pricing. First of all, solar power. The same solar panel in Dubai produces twice as much energy than in Palau. Second aspect, economies of scale. Larger plants like in Dubai for 800 megawatts compared to 30 megawatts in Palau. It means approximately 30 times larger. You can easily understand that buying 30 times the same volume in the global markets has a totally different price. Then we have logistics. Shipping in a remote island is extremely more complex than shipping something. I make the example of Dubai, which is the second worldwide port in the world. Here we go. Then the cost of capital. As you can imagine, in that specific case of Palau, in order to complete the microgrid, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. In that specific case in Palau, we will invest more than $70 million, which are approximately 1/3 of the GDP of the country. So that's a sizable investment for a foreign company in a small country. And the reason why we do it, the most interesting one, is that because we want to consider and we want to promote that project all around the world as a flagship, iconic example on the fact that smaller countries can make the biggest thing and can show to the world that if you want to make it happen, you make it happen. And the decision that has been taken by Palau, it has been supported and then translated into a proposal by Engie, is something that is doable, something that is sustainable for the future generations. So making that investment of 70 million, more than 70 million, in this country, you can imagine that we have a capital that has to be deployed and that needs a return for our investors. But we will have the opportunity to come back to the profits on that specific aspect. I give you just an example here. Cost of capital in Palau is 10%. A mortgage in Palau costs 10% interest rate. A mortgage in Europe costs 2%. A mortgage in Dubai costs 4%. That has a difference in the pricing of a PPA and in any tariff for electricity. Then financing availability. One thing is to have cheaper capital or cheaper interest rate. Another thing is to have a lot of banks that are available to finance a project in a specific country. For instance, in Europe we have a cheaper cost of capital, but we have less banks and less financial investor available compared to Dubai. This has an impact in the tariff. Then the construction market and site condition. Obviously, building a solution with huge complexity in the middle of forest is dramatically more expensive, and that has an additional cost in the tariff. What does it mean? It means that all single aspects have an impact in the tariff. And therefore, you might be surprised to discover that the most competitive player, or at least one of the most competitive around the world for solar energy, is Engie. Engie has closed a tariff, so signed a PPA in Mexico for 250 megawatt, approximately 10 times Palau, to give an idea, at 2 cents. So the first question that you should have is, why in Palau is 19? Are those guys making money? The answer is no. There is no difference between the 2 cents in Mexico and the 19 cents in Palau. And I will explain you why. But let's start just for the solar comparison. Let's imagine that that project is just a solar project in Palau. What will be the tariff? The answer is approximately 13 cents for solar only. And why that? Because 2.7 cents are the difference for the less solar power that we have here in Palau. Then 3 cents are due to the higher construction cost. We have few players, construction is very complex. It's totally different compared to a plant in the middle of the desert in Mexico. Then we have higher transaction and insurance cost. We have to insure and cover with appropriate insurance policies all the tropical and storm risk typhoons, because we will own and operate the plant. And we take the risk for the next 30 years, asking to the country no investment. So that risk has to be covered and has a cost. And last but not least, more expensive financing, because borrowing money in Palau is more expensive than in Mexico. And the impact is 3.9. This brings the tariff for solar only, which is not our project, but just to understand what's the difference between Palau and Mexico. What's the difference between 2 cents in Mexico and 13 cents for solar only in Palau. Then you will immediately understand that the same companies can sign PPAs in Dubai at 3 cents or in Indonesia at 14.9 cents. Indonesia, paradoxically, is more expensive than Palau, but not because anybody's making more money in Indonesia than the money that we make in Palau, but simply because of those constraints, those 7 factors. Therefore, when you hear about a comparison of PPA price, please ask to the people that are making such comparison if they have analyzed, as we have done, those 7 factors. Then, unfortunately, solar only, even if 13 is better than 19, is not the answer in Palau. Or at least that can be the answer, but just covering 9% of your energy needs. Because if we put more solar into your grid, increasing the percentage of solar power in Palau by more than 9%, the grid will become unstable. Because unfortunately, the current grid of Palau is really weak and needs reinforcement. And this is not only our opinion, but is also the opinion of JICA and all the public reports that have been written on your grid, on the status of your grid by independent experts. And because of that reason, you cannot do more than 9%. But as far as I understand, your ambition is not to put 9% solar power, but to lead the climate change and sustainability worldwide challenge, to lead the energy transition. And for that reason, you set a 45% target. Just a technical aspect. Why maximum 9%? Why the grid will become unstable? Simply because the solar power starts producing electricity in the morning, has the top of the production at midday, and then decrease. This is what we call solar bell. However, this is the theory, and this is the reality. Reality is that any cloud that passes over the solar panel produces an immediate drop in electricity, and then a raise up, and a drop and a raise up, what we call ramping up and down continuously. Also, a bird can cause a drop in the solar power. So when you plug that solar power into your grid, you like lights to be stable, right? Otherwise, like in emerging countries, we will have the bulbs that find woof, woof, woof. So how can PPUC cope with that intermittency? Ramping up and down the diesel generators that compensate for that intermittency. And for that reason, paradoxically, when you plug solar panel, you spend more in terms of diesel because you consume more diesel. It's like with your car. If you do with the accelerator like that continuously, you consume more diesel fuel than if you drive at a very stable speed. So that's a paradox, but putting solar panels, just solar, into your grid will increase the diesel fuel consumption and not decrease it. Then, if solar is not the answer, how can we achieve 45% in Palau? With the so-called microgrid. A microgrid is a complex system. This is embedded into the current grid. And the current grid will be embedded by solar, utility scale, distributed, rooftop in some cases, then storage that is devoted to stabilize the intermittency of the solar power, storage that is devoted to stabilize the intermittency of solar power, and then we have also storage that is devoted to stabilize the grid. And everything is managed in real time by equipment and hardware that you have seen in the video, and controlled via an intelligent software powered by artificial intelligence. You can easily understand that this is not solar, and this is not solar plus storage. This is a microgrid. And this is the only way in which Palau has the opportunity to reach 45% renewable penetration with a state-of-the-art technology that will not only reduce the tariff and therefore the electricity price for people, not only asking no investment, not only achieving 45% renewables, but also transforming a current weak grid into a more stable and resilient grid. And this is the package that we call microgrid. This is not solar plus storage. Therefore, please, when you compare prices of solar plus storage projects in the highway, consider that we are comparing apples to oranges, because this is a microgrid. This is state-of-the-art technology. This is not just solar or solar plus storage. Then a few words on that slide. This is just representative of the level of distribution of that microgrid. Just in Necken, we will have 4 sites. In Koror, we will have, at the airport, we will have 3 to 4 sites. So this is solar. Then we will plug batteries. We'll plug batteries also in the other sites in which there is no solar, but just to further stabilize the diesel generators. And we will interconnect everything in alliance with PPUC in order to guarantee that not only you will have cheaper energy and renewable energy, not only you will have a lower electricity bill, but you will have a more resilient, stable, and safe grid. Then the question is, if the tariff for solar is approximately 13 cents, and we understood why it's 13 instead of 2 in Mexico, the question is, what's inside a microgrid, and what's the impact in terms of tariff between the 13 cents for solar and the 19 cents for a microgrid? And the answer is pretty simple. We add 3 cents for the storage that is devoted to grid stabilization. So storage that is not coupled with solar, but energy storage that is installed in your sites in Imilik, in Nekin, in the power plants that you have, that has nothing to do with storage, with solar, and it is purely devoted to reinforce your grid. And this has an impact. And this is 1/3 of the energy storage that we will install. The other 2/3 of the energy storage that we will install will be storage-enabled solar. So essentially, the portion of solar that we will install coupled with storage in order to achieve 45%. Because with that tariff, you can achieve maximum 9%. Then there is a tax exemption, which is usually given by government and by countries in all PPAs. And in the case in which it's not given by the OEK, it has to be topped up to the tariff and therefore will be paid by people. But usually we get all around the world a tax exemption simply because utilities like PPUC are not paying taxes on our equipment, in particular because we are making the investment. Therefore, by making the investment, there is no cost for anybody in Palau, including PPUC. Therefore, the tax exemption is quite standard in the market. And that important aspect, because we want to make this project, and we want to make it happen. In order to, let me say, answer to the question and the deep negotiation that has been made by PPUC, we decided to cut our profits, to classify this project into the access to energy strategy. You can Google, we have an access to energy strategy at Engie that is devoted not to make money, but to change lives of people. Usually that access to energy strategy is deployed in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa. Let me say that Palau has nothing to do with sub-Saharan Africa because it's not an emerging country, it's a developed economy. However, we found a way internally to classify this project in that angle and therefore to apply the same investment criteria, essentially giving back to you 2 cents of the tariff that otherwise would have been 21 cents. It was 21 and therefore we decreased to 19 because we strongly believe in this project. Then, even if while comparing different PPAs can be tremendously misleading, even if it's complex and we have to take into account 7 factors, I understand the challenge that has been made by PPUC first, then by the Senate, on the fact that Palau needs to have the most competitive offer. And therefore, to demonstrate that, we have analyzed all the other PPAs all around the world to discover that Palau is the most competitive one in the world. And again, not because we are making money in other projects, or because our competitors, those are the projects of our competitors, those are our projects really installed in field, but simply because the complexity of the deal, the cost of financing, the possibility to apply for the access to energy strategy, I mean, essentially the 7 factors that I have listed. Because of them, there are different prices. And we have been, let me say, quite lucky because we discovered that thanks to our competitiveness, thanks to our effort, and thanks to the heavy challenge of PPUC, Palau has the most competitive tariff. Just to let you know, when you see a tariff, you have to take into account the 7 factors, but most importantly, the indexation to inflation, that PPUC currently, for your benefit, heavily resisted, even if absolutely standard in the market. Subsidies and grants. All the microgrid projects that you see out there are subsidized, in which the government or agencies investing up to 50% of the capex. So essentially, it was like in Palau, if we had out of 70 million investment, we had 35 that were made by Palau. Exactly the same thing. So if we take all those factors into account, I mean, the cheapest tariff was 21, 22, and Palau got 19. Then last comment, I was looking this morning in newspapers, and out of curiosity, there was a an article talking about the fact that oil prices are falling down, which is true, just absolutely true. And this has always been the case in the last 30 years, because there is one thing that is certain about diesel fuel cost. Let me say two. The first one is that's polluting and is not sustainable for future generation. Maybe we can make some money in the short term, but we are not creating value for our kids and for the next generation. It's not durable, it's not sustainable. The second thing that is certain of diesel is volatility. And the volatility of the price. If you look to the volatility of the last years, I mean, it's normal. Prices are falling down, tomorrow are rising up. But if you look to the worldwide analysis of fossil fuel and crude oils, we immediately understand that there is no doubt that crude oil, diesel prices will rise up tremendously. No serious analyst in the world has any doubt. And that's the reason why, as Engie, 3 years ago we decided, and Stefano will comment on that, to divest $15 billion of assets that were related to polluting technologies, because we strongly believe that we have to make investment in something that will change the lives of our kids. 15 billions, and we're not a non-profit company. So we are a company that works for profit of our investors, but we strongly believe that this is the future. Just one comment. When you heard, we would like to benefit of the future decline in solar prices, because solar panels have experienced a very steep decline in cost. But that decline has almost stopped. And when we say we want to wait until 2025 in order to get a better deal, we have to take into account that diesel prices are rising up faster than solar panel declines. Then, last words. Your electricity price today is entirely based on diesel, or almost entirely based on diesel, and therefore is linked to the volatility of crude oil. That's the reason why the diesel fuel cost for PPUC in the last 6 years has been like that. Do you remember what was the cost of electricity in Palau in 2014? It was 40 cents, higher than 40 cents. Today is 26. And in the middle, you have the other variable generation costs that are also linked to generation, but that we don't take into account for our calculation for conservative reasons. Then, this is the electricity price forecast based on diesel, which is simply reflecting the crude oil index, nothing more than that. And here is what we propose. A tariff that fixes the cost for people at a level that is today below, even if oil is at the lowest historical level. And even if we know that such prices will raise up, we fix today a price for the next 30 years that is lower than the current cost of fuel only, without even taking into account the other variable generation cost of PPUC. The efficiency that we make is lower, period, is lower for people. And therefore, that area is the money that will remain in the Palauians' pocket. Any further increase in diesel is money that you save. It's money for your families. It's money for your kids, and not for diesel. Last word, and I hand over to Stefano. To understand the importance of what has been negotiated against our first suggestion, first proposal by PPUC. So fixing the rate with no inflation escalator. So having a fixed price for the next 30 years. Just to remember the importance of that aspect. Think for a while to your salary or your electricity bill 30 years ago. Or you can look at 2050, because 30 years starting from 2020 is 2050. And just applying to an average salary of $1,000 a month, a pure Palawian inflation, which is very, very low. That salary in 2050 will be 1,600. The current electricity price, just applying the crude oil forecast of all the analysts around the world, will triple. The deal that has been negotiated by PPUC and that we accepted is essentially fixing the cost of electricity for the future generation. And in 2050, everybody will laugh about how much is low the electricity that Palawians have paid in the last 30 years. Thank you very much. I hand over to Stefano for the new proposal.
So, as I said at the beginning, and as Carloberto has explained, the deal that we are proposing is very much ticking many boxes. Meets your great ambitions, is technically very sophisticated and meets the requirements of PPUC, has been heavily negotiated by PPUC, and will deliver important savings right away. And this graph shows the calculated savings that we would expect as of 2020. There are two components, but basically one is the direct savings from the portion that would be generated by the microgrid, by the solar power, let's say, and the other one is the additional efficiency. The additional efficiency is an important one because the batteries installed, especially those that will be installed at the power plants, Malakal and Emelink, those would be available to PPUC, including at night, to manage more efficiently the existing fleet. So even at night, when there's no solar power, those batteries will allow savings in diesel consumption, in the way that the existing fleet is managed. So just to put it simply, for example, at night, PPUC would be able to switch off the least efficient machine because they have batteries, they would have batteries to be there as a backup instead of keeping less efficient machines running. So this is what we calculate, and this money, of course, will pile up. So year on year, so this is cumulative, 3 million in 2 years, almost 5 in 3, etc., etc. Up to 2025, which was your original target, let's say. So if you want to say why PPUC are rushing into this deal now, not waiting until 2025, well, this is a one very good reason. There's a 10 million that they can save in the meantime. So, therefore, why Engie then? This is a good deal, yes, but why not somebody else? Why not Engie? Why Engie? Why not somebody else? How did we come to Palau, first of all? As I said in the introduction, you yourself brought us here in a sense, in many ways, in fact. First of all, you set your very ambitious targets. You signed up the Paris agreements, to which we are also signatories. In fact, we are founding members of the Paris Club, the Paris agreements. And you set an important target, 45% renewable penetration, which your technical advisors also said this will require a complex system, this will require a microgrid. If you had said we want 5 mega of solar, frankly speaking, Engie would not be here. No offense, of course, please understand me. The problem is that the 5 mega in a remote island is too small for us to make it worthwhile, all of the efforts. Whereas you spoke about 45%, you engaged technical advisors who said this requires a very complex technical solution, add microgrid. We, Engie, just last year we bought EPS, which is now Engie PS. I come from the Engie mother company and now part of Engie PS. So we decided this is a sector we like very much. It is one of the sectors that will help us do the decarbonization, the access to energy, all of the things that we want to do to improve the future of the planet. So we said this is a flagship project. We gave it a name, Harmonia. We wanted to make the most important microgrid in the world. Is Engie capable to do this project? Yes, we have all the capabilities. As you had before, we have the solar expertise, we have the local development expertise, we have the technical expertise, we have people all around the world. We are present in 70 countries. We are a company producing 65 billion of revenues a year. We have another thing here you cannot see, but we have expertise in islands. In certain Pacific islands, we are the utility. In Tahiti, we are a 50-50 partner with the Tahiti government. We are the utility. We have 165,000, for example, clients in Tahiti as the utility. So we are the PPUC in certain islands. We are government-owned, not 100%, of course, so we are a private player, but the French government has a very important stake, it's the largest stake, so the French government is also a guarantor of what we do. Okay, that's an important one. Are we a trusted long-term partner? Yes, we are, for all of the reasons I said, including the fact that we have the French government watching over our shoulder and making sure that we behave. Let's put it this way, okay? Then how did we, practically speaking, how did we arrive here? Then how did we go to the point of signing a deal with PPUC? First of all, you also, again, you enabled all of this process. You passed an Energy Act which is very forward-thinking. You decided you have the ambition, you set out the legislation to allow that ambition to happen, and you engaged certain other partners to bring private players to Palau. The idea of the Energy Act is the private players can make proposal to PPUC, and PPUC have to vet those proposals and then bring them to the PEA once they are convinced and get them approved. And together go to the government and get those proposals again ratified. And this is what we did. There was a consultant who for 1 year tried to bring more attention to Palau, and they were successful in a way. They brought lots of external parties, private players from all over the world, Japan, I believe Germany and other countries. They came. They did the site visits, they did the due diligence, they might not have made proposals, we do not know as Engie, we were not obviously told, but then they also asked us to make a proposal. We made a proposal to PPUC, and PPUC decided to engage with us. To me that means that our proposal was either the best, might also have been the only one, I don't know, but certainly we made a proposal. We made a very competitive proposal. Why? Because we are always in competition. If we don't make a competitive proposal, the client will not take our proposal. As simple as that. We made a competitive proposal. And this is clear now. You can see it here. Eh? And again, in all the Hawaiian Islands, they are US territory. They get 50% between subsidies and tax breaks. 50% grants up front. We don't. So that's why you have to be careful about comparing. But we have made a competitive proposal. PPUC negotiated very hard the terms and conditions of our proposal, to the extent that we proposed 12 different tariffs, obviously every time a bit more, a bit better for PPUC. Finally, we got to the final tariff, which, as Carlalberto explained, also entailed us squeezing the last 2 cents out from our own returns, which our management signed off because of also because, let us put it clearly, we put a lot of pressure on our management thanks to the fact that we were so, this project could be so important for us as a flagship. So that's the process that brought us to the table. Now though, was that enough? Unfortunately not. The government and PPUC, they required the PPA that we signed, the deal that we had negotiated, to be also ratified by the Congress. We believe, strictly speaking, under the Energy Act, that was not a requirement, but they said that it was important that the entire country is behind this project. And frankly speaking, for us, as a partner that has to invest upfront and be here for 30 years with you, that's an additional assurance, okay? Makes the project and the investment and the partnership sustainable. We want to make sure that everybody agrees to this deal. So we were pleased by that requirement to get the Congress approval. However, we heard let's say, some of the questions and the issues raised, especially by the Senate, and we realized that the deal, as much as it was the best that we could put on the table, was not good enough. With a problem. As I said, we were at the bottom, let's say. We were at the bottom of what we could do economically speaking. And therefore, how could we address the concerns of the Senate without, let's say, breaching the bottom? And this required some thinking from our side, but we had to do the thinking. It's fair, the comments were fair, especially about how can we make sure that Palau also benefits from the further drops in cost of equipment, especially the solar panels. Therefore, we went back. We thought about it very hard. Luckily for us, as you saw before, the technical configuration of the project is in 4 sites, mainly. Necken, the airport for the solar plus batteries, and plus batteries in Malakal and Imelink. So we thought about that, and we said, why don't we then split the project in 2 phases? We will do Necken first with Malakal, batteries in Malakal to support PPUC, and the rest we will do in a second phase. And we take a bet, although a calculated bet, that we will be able to achieve cheaper prices for the phase 2. Okay? And through this scheme of thinking, we put on the table a better proposal, which, by the way, also technically speaking, might help PPUC to accept, let's say, the project in phases with put less stress on the people, on the system, etc., etc. So this is the proposal we want to make. We will deliver the first phase, which will be at least 30% solar penetration. Effectively, will be a bit more, but let's say at least 30% by 2020, as per the current deal. And we will add the additional 15% by 2022. A little bit later, and that small step allows us to take the calculated bet on the falling prices of solar. By doing this, what we can offer is a reduction right away of the phase 1 tariff, let's say, of 0.5 cents for 30 years, and a commitment to bring at least a 10% reduction for phase 2, at least, hopefully it would be more, but at least 10%. And therefore, just to summarize it all, 2019, now obviously will still be all fuel oil or diesel, based. Then 2020, you will start benefiting for a 30% renewable penetration, results where you start accumulating benefits also from a financial perspective, $1 million saving calculated for PPUC, and so forth, until 2022, when we increase, finally, we get the full ambition of 45%. Down here, by 2025, we also want to mention that we also have, this is our Engie owns ambition to bring more, to bring 60% solar. By the time we believe we will be able to offer rooftop solutions which we will finance and which will become part of the microgrid as well. And in terms, just to show the tariffs, this is the generation cost, fuel-only generation cost of PPUC in 2018 compared to the tariff which was negotiated and agreed with PPUC, which is in the current PPA, starts at 19, steps up to 20, then flat and 20.5. The revised tariff that we propose for the 30% penetration solar, let's say 30% renewable, will be 18.5, then 19.5, and then finally 20. And for phase 2, at least 16.6, and maybe below, up to 18. And then once again, this you've seen already these figures, but just to stress very much the importance of the revised deal. Again, just a very simple comparison. An average salary of 8,000 with inflation would almost double. Crude oil price forecast would mean that the electricity prices on diesel would almost triple. And you can see that what we are proposing, the revised offer, we start at 17, 18 cents, end up 18, 20 cents in 30 years' time. Thank you very much. Of course, we are available for all of your questions, for the grilling, if you like.
Thank you, Alberto, and thank you, Stefan, for. I must admit that maybe your accent I cannot truly understand, but we're taping it, so we'll take a review of it again. Malungil armudele, Senate President, malungil kapsangin merkaw ma at Senator Nakamura, climate colleagues raw. Aga yulmu ra meeting lo ay sa mga sesyon namin. Como amo si John ng kamamara review. Again mga tiga nga ungil matamis kita ti al makadogera ngidil care ragel mla amadum ibadul adi ko adi swadal senmal no swakal point el dalir el al kapsingay selwa sendakal sal maludaw daw ule tangarbelaw. Tirka nga mle saying sel Paris Agreement. Diwaya belaw mle saying sel Paris Agreement ra ingirela climate change. Ya adol da alak ra climate change ang gire dal more clean energy. Mang sel tingel ngal adab lakatak luaseng nga tial partnership belaw ma Engie a direct soril intial 45% el target al marklo marali ang direct sa ilo ay sarablul adal base agim lagut mutlia o kwam aim el basent el clean energy project trablul belaw meter sel 45% seguida direct corazón del rongostrir man selong erul blada kora mongil armud kirele chairman wis admins marbeklada tirgagi del mlalolia offer til mara PPUC asing asabil tirgibel mare ersel 19 cents mo 18.5 direct amornya te lela al mutal al dura 2022 el lomes lo asing al albora 2022 plabor rio arala tokora solar energy en sabil itaren tira ka kasingil ang angara 10% per savings sa gukmera next phase 2 tiay gid pro mual nga ria phase 1 ma phase 2 ikay gid akora alakalwi de in my interpretation al gire like al lam katmok lamang kami di mga teal mga kerel marketla.
No, thank you Alberto and Mr. Stefano. I guess I would like to see the graph where you had sort of, in good heart, get it from 19 to 18. Yeah, so that's it. All right. President, kulot ko rebelaw, kaya ko na blessing in the sky, Sky Sgleba de Bertia Senate de Cora il McLean git kan namut to gibul morio. Jan 19. Just two questions. And it's interesting that at the end or right after this or before that you mentioned by 2025 it should be at 60 solar and then 45 or 40. Yeah, the graph. Yeah, that's sort of very assuring and for us from a small island. And then you also mentioned, Stefano, when you were talking that this is a saving to the pockets of Palawan customers from PPUC. What's the saving on PPUC itself that they won't spend? Right now, I believe, I guess the past years, couple of years, we buy 5.5 million worth gallons of diesel, and that's amount to about $11.5 million cost. How do you see PPUC saving? Is there going to be a saving from that fuel once you reach 45, 55? That PPUC will probably have cash beside customers saving. Will PPUC save money from the purchase of, and if they do, how much do you think that would cost? That would be worth?
No, absolutely. It was clear, and let me say this is a very clever question. Let me take it and then hand over to Stefano to give more details. First of all, let's focus on step 1, step 2, okay? So that plan. There are 3 kinds of savings for PPUC. The first one has been calculated by PPUC and represented to the different bodies, which is approximately $500,000 a year, and is purely related to the avoidance of diesel. Okay, so what's the value? Assuming that the value of diesel will remain flat for the next 30 years, and this does not seem the case, frankly speaking, that amount will raise up. And therefore, you see clearly in that graph what happened. As far as diesel prices will raise up, crude oil prices, which is the same thing, that $500,000 will double and triple. Then there is a second saving, the PPUC, which is the dark blue one. We call it avoided fuel cost because of increased efficiency due to storage. Why that? Because, as Stefano mentioned, we will not just install storage close to solar, but we will install storage also in other 2 power plants in order to increase the efficiency of your system, to increase the resilience and the stability of your system. And this is not just a promise, but that's a reality. Already in phase 1, we will not just put solar plus storage together, but we will install in Malakai an energy storage system devoted to the grid stability. This has an effect which is running very simply 2 diesel generators instead of 3, and therefore 1/3 of that diesel fuel will not be consumed anymore, and therefore it has an impact on 1/3 of the total cost. For that reason, we value just in the first phase that amount to 0.6 million, and if you sum up, is approximately 1 million the first year, and at regime, when we'll achieve 45%, are more than 2 million a year.
That's for PPUC.
Per PPUC. On top of that, there are the so-called variable generation cost, which is a delicate aspect, but let me just give you some color. Here is the diesel fuel cost. Here is the price of electricity. Obviously, there are other 2 things in the middle. Cost of the grid and depreciation of the cost of the grid for the investment that you made. Cost of PPUC, because at the end of the day, if you have a bill and someone is billing you. And even more importantly, the variable generation cost. Obviously, we will expect a significant and material setting also from the variable generation cost perspective. So we will not be surprised if demand will reach more than 1.5 million from the first year. But in any event, there is also to be taken into account that within the variable generation cost there are people. And what we usually do is that we transform people that were devoted to the diesel generation operation and maintenance or environment, and we transform those people, training them for free. It's already written in the PPA. We will do technology transfer. We will bring our know-how, our expertise, and we will transfer to you. Because if you don't share knowledge, there is no value in what you do. This is what we believe. You're welcome.
Lutro om dasura gride ibdule sel taral dal dilingal al director amwil belutam tabngara kabelment terbela amle askra jaika kabelment rasyawal lemer belao el katmutlia assessment tertial dengi burgid e directlo ay sirgid wase olgum kadamo rulia solar power plant tra blur belao amo angara posterngi el amo angara dil talmara le lorior ngi ma tel da egal dengi burgi ma jai kamle segit se report le kopterngi tigale tamlo tambansang sel basically sel lulukor nga jai ka report setya kadalala maring el malmo expensive undertaking ablur bela lingiriul dia kadim solar o mombe mringi ngirel mo nya battery storage direct morgi seguido el wal regulator mal stabilizer el mo part legal existing legal ngaringil denki burgi mo ulen mo o eficienta o tabdela dengira legal denki bu legal ngamala alam mga mili aral bel ko tringa chaiga omle overa dar tamadringel million rudo amerikans meng tirgang sel point sa dulu aset tirgang amle milsa sel jaga report e aset tia sa amruli yakin ruli ende kalbolwai sel ar lolgoria jaika agingul me e competitive sil afford ria ar other bela in fact lulgoria sa agil mutungul merio mo ngario tial arala luur el angaleng ende kal make sense ablur bela alungwa solar mag clean energy make et hara aklo ludodra buk hara rir el alsit meng tirganga taramal lu tangala se alia government tra France a shareholder ngari ka perngir tial company hindi kan sabihin ko ra ang mga belung mal ubet tomelia isela France di France atara ngara frontline ra tora climate change ma global warming ma ay gagit tora renewable energy dire kal sibit tirgal ko amru lang idil illegal el toil ko ra brula bribery tal ubet ko ra ko brula ngarang dia kal sabil tirga nga mal strict standard del rutri ma ul mamrala isira brula ROP di segit sel el charter lalo tabdil campera igel Tengkibura Samoa ma Virgin Islands Amologa Hawaii what is that Comoros Marwa Maldives e seguid el mal bagatak klasel guk kirel belaura Engie ngariol wase katuk company badal mu telya suira igel el tiram lalo ara igel el bebira blue I think in direct tiga kasi mga blada iga public el dabora internet el tinga or gita igal toy tamo ta kita aku talte alo ay sirgido sa kadamlo sa bedel mga dura kwam tamskida ay gel kukigara solar system ertir kada amlarmen sa siya kwam ay aklor kombalin long erula solar system ertir sel nga kwam ade omde mara solar e tralo si sebergi mendiakal CPL mo kut mekli tial ni lendia ka battery storage tir e direct dia ka segida dulu asing grid stabilizer regulator ra adeng gibuti melal time akwama adia ka bol 2% aklungel adeng gil lola ngil sel gidar bailar el anga momod adu ra 45%. Klungela den gibu los pe ni abulur belar mutra 45. Es el taradilil tras malungilo trongal si al sumo com dom da emerira sils dia hasta battery storage ma dia tiagi del grid in civil do to dia 9%. 9% takay ekekrei. Detail system rel albo dolaria I guess in namo dia kalgeda lomgodong rilo as solar ling solar ang ania solar ma solar lomgelas to battery storage tiagi rel ang ari selong edel componentry solar power el mo partra den gibura imli kama ang malala mo help regulator sel den gilol to bedringia ang malala ma ay imli el mutal mo efficient baul tamsado asing mo save para a PPUC at least in $1 million a maintenance ng sel tela dakada dolgo arala lu kurdim belogor sel efficiency ra den gibu akasingilen 1 million na taraka ang sabriling segidel system apulngul itutira ang amala alma kaya arala lu ako taratoy fuel cost ta directly Palu the open Alberto, maybe I'll ask this for Stefan, if I. Will oil prices be cheaper than solar in the coming years?
The answer is no. Simply because today, solar is the cheapest power source worldwide. We, as Engie, are signing contracts at 2 cents, which is cheaper than gas, which is cheaper than coal in China or coal in India, which is cheaper than nuclear, which is cheaper than any other power source. Any company worldwide is making an energy transition. Any country worldwide is making an energy transition. Solar is today and will be tomorrow the cheapest power source in the world. And diesel prices, according to an unanimously opinion from the World Bank to the Asian Development Bank, that by the way will be our partners in this project. I would like to stress that this is not the opinion of Engie, but this is the opinion of a player that works together as banks, the World Bank with the Asian Development Bank on a daily basis, and also for this deal. And if anybody around the world has a perception or feel the risk that diesel prices will be below the solar price that we propose, nobody will finance this deal. Because nobody will believe that for 30 years you will suffer the fact that you have signed a price that is higher or more expensive than the one with diesel. Everybody knows that. In the end, it's a matter of energy transition and climate change. But the reality today is that going renewables, in your specific case, going solar plus storage plus grid stabilization, is the only way also to reduce the cost today. We are the lowest historical level of diesel and crude oil. At that price, to give you an idea, and then I hand over to Stefano to complement, at that price, with a Brent below, so the cost of crude oil, below 50, which is today 47, something like that, the major oil companies in the world will survive for more than 1 year. So in the event in which the prices will be like that, the problem is not the cost of diesel. The problem is that the major powerful companies in the world will go bankrupt. We will have global rebalancing. And the price of electricity will be the last of your concerns. That's the reality. And the reality is that what we are bringing on the table is a deal that requires no investment. That today reduce for real electricity price for people and give for real to PPUC immediate savings. The world is clearly saying that. The Worldwide Council, the World Economic Forum, the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank The world is investing billions in solar. That's the reality. And not because it's cheaper, because it's sustainable for the next generation. The effect of that massive investment and that we increase dramatically the volumes, and because of that, the cost of solar declined dramatically. So it has been an effect, not a driver. So we can believe that we can make some money in the next 6 months, 1 year, maybe around 2 years, but in the end, when you turn the key of renewables, you will start saving money and change your country. This is what I believe. Then, from the Engie perspective, I think Stefano can give you more details and more color at the Engie level.
Yes, obviously we are a global energy company, so we spend a considerable amount of time thinking about and studying. We have an economic department, internal economic department, studying the matter of commodity prices, energy prices, and of course oil prices. We have, Carlalberto mentioned early on, 3 years ago we started a detransformation. We decided to stop the carbon intensive activities, meaning also selling and closing carbon intensive power plants. Not far from here in Australia, we have incurred almost $1 billion cost to shut down a very large coal-fired plant, for example, which at the time was infamously known as the most polluting coal power plant in the world, unfortunately for us, but okay, we have shut it down. In the process of that transformation, for example, we have sold the unit of Engie, which used to be the oil and gas exploration unit, called Exploration and Production International, EPI. We sold it last year. And to make those kind of decisions, you have to have a strong belief in your forecast. Forecasts are what they are. They can be wrong, yes, of course. But as Carlalberto said, is there anyone who believes in the future of diesel? There is another cost, by the way, of diesel, which cannot be reflected in the price per gallon, in the price of oil per barrel. Of course, I'm talking about the externalities and the impact on climate change, about which you all are very interested and extremely, let's say, proactive about. But also, let's be a bit less naive. Let's focus on hard cash. Do you really believe that in 10 years' time, Palau would attract tourism at all? Or what kind of tourism you would be able to attract in 10 years' time if you still have a full diesel-based generation? In 10 years' time, who will want to visit a pristine paradise which is 100% diesel fuel? That cost is not in any of those graphs, but I hope you will think about that when you decide whether to take this deal or not. We have really worked very hard, not only with you here, with the stakeholders here, with PPUC. We have worked extremely hard with our own management. It's not easy to convince the management in Paris of a global company to come and invest in a country that, frankly speaking, before this deal, they didn't even know it existed. We have done all the work. We have put on the table this deal, which is at no cost to your country. And yes, there's a question of oil prices, but as I explained, we sold our oil and gas activities because we don't believe in that fuel anymore.
I just compliment in 30 seconds. For sure, you may find on internet different graphs. But I strongly suggest you to believe just in those graphs that are published by companies that are investing billions based on those forecasts. Because it's extremely simple to say, I do not agree, and to publish another curve or another graph. But what really matters is that who is investing, the companies around the world that are investing billion or divesting billion of assets, like in our case, because we sold all the carbon intensive activities and we have we have taken that decision based on that belief. So, when you have to take your decision, you have to take into account that in your case, nobody's asking you to make an investment, nobody's asking you to make any divestment. And that you are basing the savings, the expectation, the calculation based on the fact that the entire world, who is investing today around the world, is investing based on those forecasts. Who is saying that diesel price will continue to decline, have just one interest, selling more diesel, and not changing the world. Because I think this is the difference. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you. I think everyone is asking that question because it was in the paper. Lara sibong na total wa sa ilang mo gup mladra pa ralalu alborio yung bail abang mo cheaper $1 tial solar. Ding gigi del mil kataklil wa sa even maldra pa ralalu en tial dil ra solar dil mu tel continue yasuir tial leperinga PPUC. Di kita madengel beklado asendia kalsal di economics at albangari sa del tora clean energy at goal di kabo by sa sa inyo.
This graph is Bloomberg and Engie economic analysis. So you have the #1 independent analyst around the world, which is Bloomberg New Energy Finance, so the energy division, and the Engie economical department, which is a department based on which we take investment decision of billions of dollars around the world.
So given the forecast for the crude oil keep on going up, and the forecast for solar going down, is there any benefit for Palau to delay this arrangement for years to come, and then enter into some kind of an arrangement on solar energy?
Many thanks for the question, because it's exactly a point that I would like to stress. The short answer is no. The longer you wait, the higher is the demand that you will lose, because the faster you switch on, you turn the key, and the faster you will get the saving. That is not under discussion, because this is not, those savings are not really considering the rise of fuel prices, because the big rise of fuel prices in the long term. So, just based on the current actual calculations, if you wait until 2025, you will lose 10 million. And this is a net effect on increasing diesel prices and decreasing solar panels. And the source of that, which is based on Bloomberg, is that it did one. The increase in solar in crude oil will be faster and more aggressive than the decrease in solar, because the decrease in solar, I mean, we already are at the maturity level at the bottom of the line. Solar cannot be for free. There is an equipment to be manufactured, and we already achieved a point in which, thanks to that technology, we have the lowest electricity price in the world, which is 2 cents. Cannot be lower. It will continue to fall, yes, absolutely. There is a curve, but it's negligible compared to the past. So the longer you wait, the higher is the amount of money that you lose.
Sel atrigil meringi kita understand ringiling point the lolgori tirga nga direct wasing tialdeng kibur kumir elang adakal stable kloa power mi the madirect kloa lu mobile lora like aldeng kibu disel lungu segi del solar integration system segi del stabilizer those paigal toy lolgori tirga regulator segi deng yamo ngil marala umro even umonga lu ngungil omrolel kekit lulus pera saigal mlay sel di morder del mospido mospido en mga lu rabay di morar nga truck 45 highway ende alo nga lu di sel mospido speedo soro seguir claro alungu lolia ating kibur nga bala lama ay mili seguir del mo regulator stabilizer adista te saver a PUC kung nga about $1 million ra say gidel efficiency system ang maasoyis para sila existing ang dengibo. Sel omre adalo o tuti say gidel regulator mas stabilizer en kuk mlahel para PUC ra ko mga lelalu. And then akaduk mara arala alu mukuk tarat tiga ombral wasya sel grafa alu amorba bemerio ma di sel berio en calverio sel ngariora 5 years ago di merio telgi be kuk maral morba ya tara mal na amo platak mergida wase sel udo dang arti gidel year 1 el moray year dori omo dakta karogui en clow ngario ra audo del do ngoy tergi ra PUC ra bekrak ra next el 2 years agel total agel bodong ngoy tamang kata meluy irel ang ra agel udo del kuklo laya telkom bali hindi regal gire del camper ngil mora agel do del do ngoy tergi el all time ala kata dereli tiang and for the next 2 years ya total agel expense gil relang clow lengalak kritial ilboto si spralse seguida tara magic point lu tama be biragir an sumungan wala samal finish ra with the clock
Presidente malungil kapusenge mausubes malungil kamsulang kal other engine mem makatak la birato ko bay mla automatic til ay the low ursel 19 cents magdam la mo understand kung raw ulman 19 cents at itaragere president lool ngera ikablo ol mer kamam makmo oger niya wasi self sovereignty contracto commerce rinda ka problem rin hindi sa idol sovereignty ya sovereignty ngarnya ikel kalden ngan answer ngarnya kan team sel immunity ti kultura sel basically sa igidel immunity madoger niya wasen sel tirkangan mo oreor kor o mesgil sel rolin mo work both side hindi ako basel immunity elam da ko tingay kel condition sa sel di geul mesgi ngarnya ikel korat gibel makadoget mun sel mo work both side sa igidel tokor immunity giral belaw mata igidel kembali.
So in a nutshell, the question is that one of the obvious concern that he's relaying is the sovereignty clause. Is that something that we can discuss further on the table with PUC, of course?
Before, until a few years ago, I worked in another region in the Middle East and Africa. I had the luck of working in a very, let's say, in an excellent team with Engie, and we financed a project for a total of $20 billion. I was in charge of the financing specifically, the financing team. All of those projects were done on IPP basis, and all of them had exactly the same scheme, a sovereign guarantee with this famous waiver of sovereign immunity language. Obviously, language is a little bit different depending New York law from English law, this type of differences. However, the concepts are necessary and are always required by the international banking community. The sovereign guarantee simply says the government promised that if PPUC does not pay, they will step in, basically. And this is important in the case of the IPP projects, because the IPP projects are financed by the private sector, ourselves and banks. The waiver of the sovereign immunity means that in case PPUC does not pay, the government could say, but I'm the government and nobody can claim anything from me because I'm top of the tree, let's say. And waiving that sovereign immunity gives more comfort to the investors that the government promised we will not do that. So in reality, the two instruments together, they simply say one thing. The government promised that the pacts, the agreements will be respected. Nothing else than that. In all of my experience, as I said, I was very lucky to be in the right place at the right time, and I financed many projects over the course of my 15-year career as a financier. I financed 20 billion worth of projects. I've never seen a sovereign guarantee being used. There's never been a problem where they get. However, unfortunately, it's required. So one could say, if it's never been used, why do you need it? It's not something that we impose, but we have to have it. I mean, we will never get the approval from our board to invest. No, any banks like the Asian Development Bank, the IFC of the World Bank, they will never ever touch a deal without those two elements, unfortunately. But just for your comfort, for example, a country like Abu Dhabi in the Emirates, they are a AAA country with a sovereign wealth fund, which they don't publish the figures, but they think that they have trillions of dollars of wealth put aside. Of course, it's a small country with a lot of oil. They have the most, the best, let's say, sovereign guarantee with the most sponsor-friendly, investor-friendly type of language. And doing that, they have attracted billions of dollars of investments in the power sector. They don't need the money, but they needed the expertise. So they had launched a very successful IPP program. So in a nutshell, a very long story, but to say, unfortunately, that is the normal practice. And we will not get approval to invest without, we will not be able to bring either the Asian Development Bank or the World Bank group alongside ourselves into the project without.
Just a small word on that. I think it's also for your comfort that we invest 70 million in this country together with the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank. Those banks are requiring, you can ask them directly, nobody has ever financed a project in the world without that waiver, because otherwise there is a simple way. In 5 seconds you can say, okay, I will not pay my bill. And you can say, I will not pay my bill towards a counterparty, which is a company that has invested, asking 0 to Palau, 70 million, and we are asking just one thing, to be paid for the electricity that you consume, without no guarantee, because we don't have any guarantee that you will consume that amount of electricity. We are just asking, in the contract you are summarizing one word, the PPA that we signed, including the sovereign guarantee, the waiver of sovereign immunity, those are legal aspects. In one word, we are just asking, with the sovereign guarantee, to be certain that if you want electricity, and if we are able to give you electricity, we are paid for, simply because we are investing 70 million at a very low return. And on that point, because I heard, and I seen the mentioning on high profit, just to be totally transparent, we will show to you that in full transparency, all the costs that we have for each single item, in full transparency, and the payback of our investment is at the 13 year. So we invest 70 million, and we hope that everything will go very well for the next 12, 13 years, and then we will start returning our investment. To give you an idea, a bank in Palau gets a return, a mortgage, 10%, and the payback is at year 7. So if you want to summarize the high money that Engie will make in this project, you can simplify as half of the money that any bank in Palau is making with a mortgage.
Okay. Dia kang isuadal magataklin mergidal beklada wasing dia require sovereignty dia standard dra back to project dra blul other rogi. Dia kal sabela akombali il momru la project tra Africa in Dubai in Geltang Ilakal nga rin siya gital ko ra backing. Gamot at sento ka siya pala backing. Selwal current bill was abolakal sa PPUC el PA gil produced, the government revela step in only in that. Se etaragel tokoy al PUC ma PEA adiregal mga adu rakyal el kombalil kired al tang asep edal kora tui ka mo sen sa kora wording ra al sel hindi al gired expect wasing kota oy tigal el sovereignty leng tiya gired partra tiya el sovereignty malubit tiya gired working tiya digit clear dolara ipsago agel siya kapalmen tamlo yurlia sovereignty kumbali ra England amlel makadarura ipsego segi del mlo dia sa el velaw el peringi mirael molmo 46 million na klungel seludo bing bay mlo sa el moria negotiation velaw na kumbali damle seral ra 19 million ya olvira klulaw bay dilala ekdemil ko gidal haraw gil mol panla peabel sedra ipsego hindi kal tarasel ipsego even though lo what inflated the price ma Asian Development Bank Michael ludo del mrura ba bararal masuwer mandire kal ngari kay gidan el toera sovereignty ra alse magada dilmutel mo mga adu ibig kami support kami ara PUC ma PEA mo ko continue mga adu el gired hindi basically kita amla masasel presentation na Engie albang rin ang PUC ma PEA sugum tamo sayang archegi del presentation naglal ugat magli lobang kila ngidil ngarang klel sa el madadu kada misal wasit yang amla change sel version del adadu ur katya indura tal sandiram lan mo ya a cloud changer niya, of course, sa pedal was in 19 cents. Ito lang may 18.5. Direkal tara change kasi sila by year 2022 ang almutal mo niya ako review malubeng aldadu sige dahil tang amlang boryo a price ra tokora solar tomdas wasing kasigilin through ulwasentra at yaludo al mutal medio len sabihin mo ngiti tu karngis may kita major el part at yang kita atra PUC obesity ma PEA last reply wanted to ask on the take or pay. Can you explain that concept and see whether it's we understand the Senate also asked of you, which was an important point. So.
The concept that we agreed with PPUC is that we will only be paid for electricity that we generate and which is required by PPUC in terms of being dispatched. i.e., if the demand is not there, even if we generate, we don't get paid. If the demand is there and we don't generate, we don't get paid. We are happy to revise the language if it is not 100% clear, but that's absolutely the concept. We generate and the PPUC needs that energy, we get paid, otherwise not.
Seng clear bulgula seng PUC di Mohara or sel lumela dengil bolos pe ergi lot to badir kal sola sugo mang kodos pe ra adori a 40% kada per sel 40 yan sugo ko spera 45 kada pera 45 mal buk lang ang telberio sige da buk adiri kal koramli ngara calculation ra adalo aseng yang kerdihara or sel generator mal generator 40 yang alak 45 mo kaldire di mo pay tigagi daw makatak yung asen dia store sel energy ra battery and di sel bolos pe ringia PUC sige da por maria meter Sera ulele budulem radio spera Dubai. Maka kasi ngaram ko daw spera Dubai leng. Dubai tigigidem le ko tel wasing ngara Malyasul. Sebira sa sumo ko dio mesro wasing ngara ul mangin niasuya da Dubai ngania klel dalel. Ito ka factors ilmora. Hindi kan sepedal kan pera apple sa mga oranges. Kung moda atletelian sel. 12 hours in sales. 16 hours in. How many hours in Dubai? 12 hours. Kita 56 hours sa sepedal. Generate traffic.
The solar system, the solar only system is not workable here in Palau. And so we have to go with the microgrid system, as you talked about. I hope you don't get offended by my question, but are there any other companies that engages in microgrid system, and do you think they would be able to give us a lower price than what you're giving us?
For this question, because it gives us the opportunity to just outline what we already transparently represented. You will see in that slide all the names of our competitors. And to facilitate your analysis, you see that the first one is Tesla. The answer is no, because they cannot invest outside the United States. You may try, obviously, but vertically integrated players that are giving to you at the same time an initial investment, the technology, the equipment, taking the full risk, but also taking the responsibility for the operation of the plant for 30 years, which means tens of millions of additional investment for the battery replacement every 7-10 years. Millions of investors for operation and maintenance of the solar plant, of the battery, being locally based. That business is the business of independent power producer. Tesla is a technology company, is not an independent power producer. And the reason why they sign PPA is because they are supported by the US government with a series of subsidies and so on. In any event, we've been super transparent, and to facilitate your life, we published all the prices of the PPA that have been signed, and we also exposed ourselves to that question, publishing the cost of each single line. I give you one example. Grid stabilization and increased diesel efficiency. This will cost 6.6 million for 15 megawatts of the system, which is the size of the system. It's nothing to do with electricity. I can send you a link right now. Tesla in Samoa, exactly the picture that I mentioned. The cost was 8.8 million for 8 megawatt hour batteries. In any event, it's not even your problem because we are investing. I understand because, say, I may have a cheaper tariff from someone that is more competitive. And in totally transparent way, we decided to publish our cost and openly be challenged. We are the largest independent power producer of the world. For one reason, we are the most competitive one. We do large plants, and the reason why we are here is not because it's large or because we are making more money, but simply because we have a great ambition, and this is one of the most challenging microgrids in the world. And on top of that, also the largest one. Tesla never installed a system of that size. Nobody, ever. Managing microgrids is really complex.
Yeah, sige de Vice President na will point dial Tirga nga dia kadil tia ludo da lo mesering ito mesra partnership lo mangel velaw basing tia gida mo sub il showcase seringi ra bul up basya ako tel aggressive ambitious target ra gigarel bulu velaw 45% agi black partner rulil mo toy dia kadil rulil mo toy ra mangil mo 2025 at sabi LD by 2020 kadang pangadadu again, ang sel changer tiang ablatak wa sel sumong komomda sulwasing lamo tilgibil yasuya price raigal tokoira alsela 6 years eso la el morning say gidel cual gora review 2022, that's the year when we wasing at least in momong adura a lower opportunity, a lower cost right available. Tira sabihin assure kasi ngilang ang 10% ra savings ra ay kalto ko ras. Kuno mo ko kasi parang mo sel drang sing selwasing era lorur tian dim lang alo dang libelaw eh. Di tilgamral signatory mo Paris Agreement. Tola ba gel target sa rabet kulbulu sel Dulu sa NDC, Nationally Determined Contribution. Ay gel promise rabek kulbulu sa tiamo target terkama mitirga olap record. Kaya gil pamla mo with the clock. Lord Leader, kulure nga welcome kami gimle understand masuk pamla niya session kami. Itiale pero gili ka nga the tape pergi mang direct mo sa edad share ni tiga oh ngariya kaya gitu awri ulang ngariya terakhir
Gosing President, yung gosing ibulur ma President Senate on the delivery a question about the delivery of the energy production through the solar microgrid. If the return of investment or you reach the break-even point on the 13th year or let's say the 15th year, and this is a question that was raised earlier, on that 15th year and beyond, if this program does not produce the energy required and the fossil fuel cost is above and beyond what we see now, what is the assurance to the Republic if you are, let's say you don't produce that energy for 1 year or two for whatever reasons, technical reasons or whatever, where does Palau stand on this one? If you don't get paid and you don't produce the energy, Palau stands to lose on paying on the higher fuel cost for fossil fuel. So that's the question, where's the balance on that one? Thank you.
I appreciate the question. I hand over to Stefano, just a quick comment on my side. This will be exactly the same situation in which you are today. You would have taken no risk. You would have spent no money. As far as what we promise is delivered, you will have a cheaper electricity price and we will return our investment. In the event in which there is a problem, we lose our investment, we lose our money, you switch on the diesel generators that you have, and you continue exactly like you do today. There is no difference.
Yes, just a bit more technical on the financial side of things. When we calculate the returns that have to meet a minimum requirement for our board, we take into consideration the entire 30-year period. 13 years when you get nominally your capital back, but you still have to make a profit, let's say. So that's when you start making a profit. So technically speaking, we would have all the incentive to keep going. Secondly, I think the best assurance in a long-term relationship, the best assurance about the seriousness of your partner is that you choose well at the beginning. So I believe that Engie is a company that's been around literally for more than 100 years in the various companies that they created this group. And today is an energy giant with very important stakeholders, with a very important, let's say, commitment to sustainability. And I think that's the best assurance. But also, last point, commercially speaking, anyone managing a plant at the time would continue to want to make money. It's not that because you have reached your target or you have paid back the initial capital, you stop caring about the financial targets, as well as the technical and reputational aspects. That would mean we would definitely be there to maintain to top specification the plant. And once again, if we don't produce, we don't get paid. So we have to do it. We have to.
Maria directly kira dal makatakli tial kontrat talen mlaringi raw ulele berkoy PPUC ma negotiate lot tabdi sell inflation factor wise kita selo mesringi luul mentaka arala dengkira arwa asamoa ma a price tira ngari olengil seludo guk every telang and mas segi dal inflation factor lakalu teng 1.5 or 2% abel calculator ngil gire dal el pergi plus segi dal olengil tialudo den maral mor bab tiarapi di semilungu betul melat ya ul mendi flat rate el dori years basically kita mendengar wasen telaran en que kita eruwa kalmla git clear inflationary comparison a value 19 cents el ang ma value 19 cents other years from now it was basically 19 cents the period el ang value niya di 11 cents other years from now taraklung yolel sila ka inflation factor require pergira la kolingit ya ludo dito di pergir sel flatel ay ke bidula ul mondire kamlo sa era PPUC negotiate el main me tegi del barom tegi del dakal harara tax di waya le PUC by law el dakal harara tax tial partnership adiwal dulasing PUC a continue provide that Engie hindi contract ringi ma IPP mesois segi del tax sabel del loliang hindi del ya kan gira del expect was en tukuk musel tax ngudo olir sel gira del leperinga PUC ma rental ragel utum ul mun direct dia ka me help mo lower tial price mo parom low ngil dia ka lepe rent lega utum ra kabelment in the ending mendiakal soal audas wasing mo yasua dengi mendiakal other belau aku pe edengir til takai osisul tay mendiakal pe tax tire gitu turun around the guk tanga audo del mile sa PUC lo ada subsidize til agal di sisul udo den beliwek di bayungila di blakatak wasin dia kaboda subsidize tial tial aral tial linggi buleng already dia ka inflationary factor for the next 3 years. Di seguida sel klungolel tiang year 2022 en ari se review period ni do moriate ele del mutuo meser seguida the price of technology is a given time. Governors ngariya somyu loker speakers Allah ke segida process ila tamla utabditial el mera PUC emla utabdil mergid magdana mo model wasing ngara offer on the table ra madri ra adra PUC sel la saying ersegi del kontrata PUC en waguk lebes el version retial tokoy el bolo clean el mera kabelment ma olbira kalulaw kaya kita dia kata stop el mutulon ngitra adra PUC mo kung continue el group tial blan ngulo bersin beregulatif le lutul para ses hanya ngidil ngarangan sen ko segit sele take and pay dire kam lamo blatak dire kam le concern na senate kaya kita lam ka taklil mo you pay what you get. Okay, dami da ba street tirgal ada prot ugur tal. Thank you very much Alberto. Thank you very much. Thank you Stefan. Do you have any lasting words that you want to say?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for this very interesting meeting and for the questions, the challenging ones, obviously. I can only close with remarks a bit more on the pension side. It's a decision time. At home, I'm very different person than what I am at work. At work, I'm required to be decisive, to make decisions all the time, to have to be really straight and with the analysis. At home, I'm a very different person. I agonize about decisions, especially when I have to buy something or have to do something important. I want to compare everything and I never take a decision. In those circumstances, I always go back to my wife and she's the one who tells me, is this good? Is this good enough? Yes. But is it also good for you? Yes. Then take it. Stop because you will otherwise waste time agonizing over something instead of enjoying something that's good for you. That's my last comment. Thank you.
I have just, let me say a thanks to be said, because frankly speaking, I'm grateful for the work we have done here, and as I said since the beginning, I have been astonished by the level of professionalism pursuant to which we have been challenged. First by PPUC, because no take or pay nor capacity payment on any figure. And eventually, I am really happy and grateful to the challenge that we received from the Senate. Because in the end, even if from our perspective it was the bottom, still is the bottom, but that's a better deal. So thanks to that challenge, that proposal might be better perceived by you, even if there is no change, because in the end what you don't save, really economically wise, is identical. But we think that this is the beginning of a marriage. And 30 years are like a marriage. And therefore, it is worth to be all on the same page, all really convinced. And having at the very last second of the process, having had that challenge that essentially giving us the opportunity to rethink how we can make Palauians happier, even if economically it really doesn't change, in a smart way, keeping the same level. I mean, that's a proposal that in the end gives you a cheaper tariff immediately and a cheaper tariff in the future, therefore address the major concerns that we perceive. So the possibility to benefit from future solar prices drop. And in the end, to get a lower tariff today. In reality, what is lowering is just the savings that PPUC can make. But as far as this is better perceived by the country, and as far as this is a good start, where any part of the Congress, any part of the country, any single line is convinced that we're doing the good thing, I'm happy. And I'm grateful to have been challenged even after the signing. Even if it was a bit embarrassing in Paris, but I mean, it's business. So thanks for that. Thanks to PPUC for how much they negotiated. Thanks to the Senate for the challenge, because in the end we proposed something better, we think. Thanks to the President and to the government and to the Minister, because they set an ambitious target that will transform Palau into a leader of the energy transition, implementing the most iconic microgrid in the world. Thank you.
Sa tigal ade, wala ko ngitra pa, Senate President tama, ay budol ng spiritual meeting gide. Hindi ko rin sulira bekla adra kloren. Gida gen information ng lal beski del direct position information ng lal. Kumbara la sitam la present ng mga PPUC ma PEA. So la kan nga sulira bekla there's enough efforts to pass around nga sulira kita Senate, House kadamol merced pilbile dalwasin kado si Crolele tiamo tokoy biya kato si Crolele do mo katari clearly ay gelon tidan mga concern yung kita Senate maradra blu abla nga padala de smisi kada joint in mga tigal ada kato itu senor libre direct adra adra direct el alla le korum madami el proposal and continue directly long te interest ro gidro at some point in direct el mo o mesa seguid el final version at el TPA direct mo ngitra olvida ko lulaw tamo sabihin ko ngeni la alabes ang dire la house el mutal ko ngera apuk new resolution mas Senate direct I can give you what to look forward to in the coming days. Okay? Senate President, terlalu sebenarnya period of watch.
Saule Presidente, betul kau meraklay agi mlomyo dan jaka aldulil lagi mlom merguira sel royal tokubet sel londi bermam ela longi tiul special session mang lagi mlomyo di senator samno bil bestrit tirgar edi albe bermam senators kedukan na muter men saigel alda adrir mang agi direk muter lo sisul toka gimdong dagi mo tokora tial energy kita matingil wasin laring igil concern ra Senate igil tial omeser el alwasin hindi mlakal mga irogu hindi laring abla musbedel mal aswar el alsils ya ige dial dilul deswela Senate ang direkal muldasul ki direkal malangis ang ngesurar adrablu mendirekal toka gimorul lultoy raw doswira betul adrablu gida ya Senate na malumul gela a president ma House of Delegate ma rubul belaul girel tial tol gida umral wasin klo tutelen mir gida adrablu belaw mang kadamari nga sulira tigal adra kombali ya gidirek lolngit ma PPUC ma PEA lolomol mlorior el gut mutli amra lungil el contrat el sel lulubong ma kulbira lulobol ngering marani ngaringa sila mal aswara wasin milgat moklat ko ngiya mo girira adra bulur belaw ra al sila igal marani mel lokder rakal el gidam lubang kilsel lam sa sel presentation artir yang wayal dirga alabang ala PPUC ma PEA matir ngaringa ko lungot mok na magardiro mitra ungil dalwil ra dalongil ra leadership may ka PPUC ma PEA malolomol maloreo ya kumama direk albornya suba man nguswira PPUC ma PEA lagi oferan esulara a Senate girel lobongela House of Delegate ya bungge met president dolomol makaloreo bagumte a Senate uring ra ungil guris pas mera leadership ra blur belaw ma ara adra blur belaw rogir bodo asmri tal meeting ergi lo ba a omul ma kultar ring bodo sisbra besra ma guris pas sulang
Me Kamanor sa mas speaker sa kora di luke o nganya ko klamiyura Christmas. Chairman Kamanor Association.
Mula ko ang personal ko ka president mga tinggal betul marklay tinggal mula lang matiang Mama Kamanor sa maging lekutmok meron algo personal yung mes yung secretary presentation agi marangil wasang multaba al dadul director important PPA ng kemudian sulit tinggal di ada kembali wablo sabihin matak laptop kutukoy nga mo tugil kung ina understanding lagi diligal mga sulit la Senate wablo sabihin bring up para issues luulen tinggal ada ng tatak diligal keluar belakora offer maybe invest at oil sabihin mo improve tial al-agreement ng bangaringin ang hindi utia support ang Kamanor sa inutil extend ang Manuel Christmas ang abesiraran mga biglaan.
Sulate alam mo sa mira kung siya ka ada tiga speakers president amamle ulum tir eli organisation ang nami tir eli tiagi damle imora alungalam eli no matrokol wasya speakers ada legal kolbi legal blue omes tel program activi Mungkin udah lalu sit atau nggak sekian multra apa TV temui masa no tak kelas speaker selasin toldo bertel tol jadi kira makluar orang aktif bertel macam nomor sosial aktif betul wasya gimana kalau mam mau mau agel al-agr mam lagi mau bicara agel olmir mam mangirti agela el program tinggal mau tinggal natia en la contacta en toda esto hoy en sitio esto hoy ya de usada de ganar para ti beberapa pasien aneks lo lleva a mí en la Ucrania es el development ada dua Maayudul adira lagi mengaku dan tidak itu dia orang yang tidak melakukan semua maksudnya mengapa tidak ada PPUC tidak ada segala terima ada segala jauh nanti dia lagi mau pertir kemudian orang besar mau berispas kemudian ada belau lebui kemudian sama leadership tidak perlu terbuat betul ini besar mau berapa yang tadi kemudian waktu pemangsu
Ika keluar pun betul.
Subsingil morgidrobui bekal no sebedal mutan meklir le non street tirgal adal mo matakla gil nanya kadi betul nomrekal meeting. Sarai kemarubul belawa amadi ngalom office president minister sangi ma kamera ROP abod house ma senate selo ko niya agi olto de gilden umman mo miwa aman made betul issues do moiwa kontrat on sel pontibil mo tiar chegi lagi pomodisi ni pero mo na urang ang Christmas ma reserva mo president ma ROP
Marbeklado we are other below we Mansula.
So idul reply man ya some
yang al-bahar ni tokoy mo do riya ada albe to tokoy beringal tingin na bro beringal ako trabaho mo ando do etyal bla nem sega etyal lames riya maran mo kasay atau sahabat tinggal bro sendo mo ra ko tulu la ko ban mo ra awle ko la Pagkatag relasyon sa tragil ada telkom balik amnas modi irgit ya igal bolorul gele la blur bela bokul gele bela jaga tari jaga bokul gele bela rak banget tertayang kita nartiaul ni to selmet irgal adul belum ada tu urgit el soldi bolgaria padre dia aso budol nitra adol me bodo do urgit el smauda toy mkat bob nei el akademei edoren sertir ever tingara rogen bola de aula male agumesra nalbangar gir el am ada do dia kan salbral lomsodel tial waset tial doru ngir bongirra abela mo maket tumlatak to ngere bela atara da albangar ngir omsodel tial pora dengi adi adil dengi ra belu sel bela kadire lomda sura lela bela tial belu at Lalu obatnya kelentele lah belum ada lobal meriau. Etiagi lorungi tergang abo ongosbit. Tergang lorur tergang adine kalau saya bela mengalia imar lah belum lah. Lorur gire lah kelentele lah belum lah. Kadang gire belum. Endi kadang part tertiap belum lah gire mengalia ngerak. Presiden Senet nak berhoi, mat bakal bro, tergal ada solakut bukti. Adi yang tinggal legor kami Presiden Senet kata mungkin mau ingram. Asum kata melatuk tiaw bro yang berhoi, ewasya ki bro ni, ebo tu tata kerogue tata kalau bro, kerogue tiap gokol mereka terat boy. Albulua ada bela rogo inget albang largo dan direct yang oh yang direct rogo ngasuri ada senators lo mesalla wasen dia albutbak betebalalla dua year luluga presiden kata berura tuh di kata busyalla kata tirak alla endi la ada adobe salla adu rulo masuk daun Allah amna moro ngode tam jak sabe turuli tiang sabe dal algo kodi Allah eruli ado bogor ni direla blu kirira me dol mol mel al paglo ure do de tial ure presidente bandure ado pol mere kan tarat oi endia del te gira adal bagrira blu belau butokat mondai moral me ma kat pagil logot pela blu melakado ongo da labla alo mansula
Selain klar gunda pengen dole langsung di momelek la usiul dum nam dum di konteras pinger marugul delegates Urena malmi Christmas ka Israq barpet at al belang wing ke tengah tiang di wajar mal toy nam dum pasa PPUC telkom bali ang mutu al time gel sel wal PS agreement ruli serli gulit tirak lagi ang lagi baby na concern na Senate bulaan sel botok agungit masih parte ka aksyon niya Senate ibsen gunung ma House sulang.
Okay, ya, lang Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays sa mga teklaad. Manisaw the Senate President Maslat, we will work with you on that. I am sure House we will work with you on that. Merry Christmas. Thank you.